Okay, you guys, let's get started. Greetings. Thank you all for meeting on this sort of cold Friday. What I want to do is, I sent you all an agenda. So I want to go over our ESILI 2 webpage so you can see the resources that we have for you. Then I want to show you a short video about the information revolution so you can sort of see the history of information literacy. And then I want us to do our group reports and maybe keep it to a maximum of 10 minutes so we can get out of here by 4. So basically I have linguistics. I know they need to leave early, English, psychology, and nursing. Then we'll do a wrap up and talk about our next meeting. From our homepage of the library, so I'm going to go back to home. We were talking about this when we met. Go down to research tools and research guides and tutorials. Go to our department. So once you get here, we're basically right down this link. So you get to our main page because you don't want to just go to ESILI because we have a lot of rich information. But since the last time we met, our students have built this page for you all. So the arrow will open up here and you can go to documents and reports. So right here is the PowerPoint that Stephanie and I use, so you can go through that. It's there for you. After today, our reports are going to be put here. If you have any interim ones that you do want published, if not, you don't have to. But your final reports will be loaded up here, plus on the CSALT tilt page. So just to let you know that that will be there. And last year's are there, so you can look at them. Under multimedia, if any of your cohort was not able to make it to the workshop, we've got it divided into like 12 segments, so Ellen Jones, introductions. So you can just click and watch it on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side is when you guys were making your reports and talking. So you can listen to yourself, you can look at your photos of the event. So that's all there for you. And then under participants, we have the participant list. And then once again, it's a reminder for you of our next follow-up meeting when your project is due. And then the fact that the reception in which the provost and the president of our zone will be there, it's just going to be arranged in 2011. So this is all there for you to refer to. And then if you want to look at what the people did last year, we've got the basic ESILI, so you can look at their reports, their presentations, the report back with the provost and all that. And then I already went over this for you, but we've got a lot of different resources in here, so that's for you to look at. Any questions on this? Reduce. I want to show you a video. I like this one because it sort of shows you where we've been and where we're going to in information literacy. It's just around 5 minutes. I always like to do a video. Does this sound good? It's just all music. comments on the video? What I thought was interesting for me when I was seeing it this time, I've lived through the card catalog and on, but most of our students haven't. Didn't even know that was. In fact, I'd like to get one for home decoration, have in my house, because no one really knows what that is anymore. But any comments?
The one thing I found interesting was I just got like two nights ago an iPad.
Oh,
And
you.
the most exciting thing of all was when you go to iBooks and they have bookshelves. They have these little shelves, and then when you buy a book, the book comes up there and here's a picture of a book with Winnie the Pooh on it. You click on it and it opens up as Winnie the Pooh. I mean, it just struck a chord with me. I'm from the days of the bookshelves, and when they were talking about on a shelf or not on a shelf, that was kind of, that little hook for me to hang that on made it so much more friendly. I'm old, what can I say? But I like that part of it.
Amanda, were you going to say something? Okay. Christine.
It made me want to go home and curl up with a book. And I say that kind of really, my first thought was it made me want to go home and kind of hide. It's the information overload and the anxiety of it changing all the time is really, I think there. I don't let it keep me away, but when I really reflect on it, like that video makes you reflect, there's a level of anxiety there for me. And
How do you think that applies to our students?
I don't know that they know enough that they should be anxious about this. Maybe. There was at one point in my own intellectual development where I realized I would never know everything I wanted to know. And everything I wanted to know was what I felt I needed to know. And so I had to give up this, okay, maybe I don't need to know that to move ahead. And so, then it became, okay, I don't need to know everything to move ahead. There's still so much I wanted to know, and now I'm giving up on what I wanted to know. But that came really when I was in graduate school. And our students, I don't know that they have the motivation to want to know like I do. And so,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think when we say our students, we can't really just, my students aren't 20. My students' average age is 40 and they go up to 60s. So they're more like me than your students are probably like you. So my students would be in a panic seeing something like that. They're known in digital campus as being the lowest common denominator. It's, oh my God, it's the nurses again. So.
The nurses.
Oh, yes.
I was just thinking about the ramifications for writing on students, because if you undermine the ability to organize things into categories and to hierarchize them, it's very hard to make a coherent, cogent argument. And I can see the effects in the writing that I get already. And we're going to have to come up with new pedagogical approaches that are designed not necessarily to allow them to use this everything is everything model, but to get them to see that that's not the only model that you need in order to be successful.
And have some ideas of models?
No, not yet.
I don't know, I've had a lot of English students, because I talk to them about e-books and online information. We talk about journal articles and books, and a lot of them, maybe it's because they're English students, and a particular population that's attracted to that major, but they really like a physical book. They want to go down the stacks and get the physical book, and they would rather do that than look for journal articles online. So a lot of them say that. So.
Yeah, somehow I feel more secure with it.
Yeah.
I think there's some discipline too. In nursing, you can't rely on the book because by the time you get the book, it's out of date. By the time it's even published, and so they really have to learn these information. Be able to, access journals and information in other ways. Whereas in other, and I'm not saying English, but in other disciplines that maybe don't change as fast, the books are still are logical.
I'm wondering about students' reading behaviors too, especially students who may be more familiar with browsing on the internet than sustained reading from what I would call the beginning to the end. Of course, with some previewing initially and so forth. So if students are just doing a lot of reading on the internet with this kind of surfing, textbooks might go onto ebooks. Yeah, I see that happening very rapidly. But
Courses with no book.
yeah, well, yeah, but you still have paragraphs, I assume?
Well, we do journal articles.
Yeah, because I
There's
actually
them all
taught
online, and- I mean, there's
beginning.
reading, but there's not a textbook.
Yeah, well, I taught a beginning reading writing book that didn't have a reading writing textbook either, and they had readings on Blackboard, and it was all kinds of New York Times and whatever. But still, these articles have clear beginnings and ends. And you know, if you're surfing, it's a different kind of reading strategy. So I'm just wondering about mastery of both. It's a challenge.
I think it would be a mistake to assume that all information is organized this way too. I mean, this is the web. This is not really, these aren't the articles, these aren't the books that people are reading. You know, people are reading books still, and they're reading articles still. I don't think all information is organized this way. So, I mean, assuming that students are just completely unfamiliar with books and articles and things